What's up, everybody? Thanks as always for supporting the show. It would mean a lot to me if you would take a second to scroll down and hit that subscribe button to the Hoops Tonight YouTube channel, and then follow me on social media on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter so you guys don't miss any of our content over the course of this season. All right, let's talk some basketball. Now, let's move on to our MVP rankings. So, we have a couple of guys dropping off this week, specifically Steph Curry and Jalen Brunson. Between the two of those guys, they have lost 8 games since our last edition of MVP rankings, so they're dropping off the list for now. Number 10, and remember, my MVP rankings, like if I was an MVP voter, I'd feel different. I just want to use my MVP rankings as a means with which to basically just say, who's been the best regular season player this year? That is the main purpose of my MVP rankings. And for what it's worth, that's the way a lot of voters see it too. So we'll see if it ends up panning out at the end of the year. But I just wanted to, I know we've done them a few times, but I wanted to just give that quick little briefing. Number 10, De'Aaron Fox. His scoring and efficiency have taken a little dip since our last rankings, and the Kings have dropped some games. So he drops to 10, and he had a nightmare game against the Orlando Magic the other night, although he did hit a couple of big shots in double overtime. But he's been one of the best volume pull-up shooters in the league this year, which I wanted to shout out really quick. He's getting 1.1 points per pull-up jump shot. There are 23 players in the league that have attempted at least 200, and he ranks third. Only Tyrese Haliburton and Trae Young have been better. So an excellent pull-up shooting season for De'Aaron Fox. And just a huge deal when you factor in the fact that he's already one of the best downhill athletes in the league and already a great mid-range scorer, as an excellent floater, great rim finisher, and great passer. Number 9, Anthony Edwards. He's averaging 34 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists since our last MVP rankings on 40% from 3, by the way. Best player on the best team in the Western Conference, even if it is largely on the strength of the team's defense. I do want to shout him out, though, because he's been one of the best pick-and-roll ball handlers in the league this year. He's getting 1.1 points per pick-and-roll, including passes. 6th out of 48 players to run at least 250. He's got really good chemistry with Rudy Gobert on the roll this year. Number 8, Jayson Tatum. Even though I get annoyed with his offensive approach, and even though he's not as efficient as some of his peers around the league, the Celtics are 4-1 since our last rankings, and Tatum is averaging 28 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists, so he'll hold on to the 8th spot for now. Number 7, another one of the new guys on our list, Kawhi Leonard. Most folks don't know this, but Kawhi is having the most efficient scoring season of his career. He's over 63% true shooting for the first time ever. He's getting 1.22 points per ISO, which is outrageous. Only his teammate James Harden and Tyrese Haliburton have been more efficient on volume. I think it's like a minimum 100 possessions, if I remember correctly. He's also making 48% of his catch and shoot jump shots, getting 1.34 points per shot. The Clippers are 15 points per 100 possessions better with Kawhi on the floor versus off, and the Clippers are now up to 4th in the Western Conference and riding another 4-game winning streak. So he could climb much higher on this list if he stays healthy throughout the rest of the season. Number 6, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis is still an absolute wrecking ball, even if Victor Wembanyama, that play where he blocked him at the rim last night was one of the craziest basketball plays I've ever seen, and Victor just keeps doing stuff like that, right? But despite that, since our last rankings, 32 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists on 63% field goals, and 36% from 3 since our last rankings. He hit 2 huge threes against the Spurs last night in crunch time, but the Bucks have dropped 3 games in the last 2 weeks, including back-to-back outclassings at the hands of the Indiana Pacers, so Giannis is going to drop to 6th for now. Number 5, Luka Doncic. Our leading scorer since our last rankings, 38 points per game to go with 8 rebounds and 10 assists per game, 50% from the field and 41% from 3. He's also led the Mavs to a 4-2 record in that span, so he moves up to 5 this week. Number 4, Tyrese Haliburton. 5 straight wins, all against good teams, including back-to-back wins against the Bucks, who have some issues at the point of attack, as we've broken down on this show. He resoundingly outplayed Damian Lillard in both games. I'm telling you, this is a theme I've seen around the league this year too. These young guys are really starting to outplay some of the veterans around the league, and it's getting to that point where it might be a changing of the guard of sorts. In that 5-game stretch, 27 points, 5 rebounds, and 15 assists per game, 51% from the field, 39% from 3, 88% from the foul line, and 1.4 turnovers a game. to go with 15 assists. As a matter of fact, in terms of pure value, in terms of who is doing the most with the least, I actually would put Tyrese Haliburton at number 1, but it's team success that's keeping him down to number 4 for now. But I don't think anybody's done more with less this year than Tyrese Haliburton. Nikola Jokic. He's only missed 5 shots over his last 4 games. Hit the nasty game winner over Kawhi Leonard last night. He's a different candidate than some of the other guys on this list because he's not very aggressive as a scorer this season with the team healthy. Hasn't attempted 20 shots in a game a single time over the last 7 games, but he's still dominating, and the Nuggets are rolling. He's up to number 3. Number 2, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the only guy to beat Jokic in the last month or so, and he did it twice, including with the game winner. Here's a crazy set of Shai stats for you. 1.1 points per pick and roll, including passes. 1.2 points per ISO, including passes. 1.31 points per post-up, including passes. So he's basically getting almost 1.2 points for any self-created possession in the half court. He's become one of the top 5 shot creators in the league. I'm very, very excited to watch him play meaningful playoff basketball this year. Last but not least, number 1, Joel Embiid. He's only played in 2 games since our last rankings, but he's averaging 31, 13, and 10 assists. Yes, 10 assists per game. You heard that correctly. Over his last 2 games, averaging 5 turnovers a game over that span. But we can't deny anymore that Joel Embiid is taking a leap as a passer, and that's a very, very encouraging thing for him as a postseason player. I want to credit Nick Nurse, too, for simplifying some of his reads this year. He has the best combination of total MVP case, which is like two-way impact, insane counting stats, team success, and specific value to his team's success on this list. So he's at number 1 for the time being.